The evening air was cool and crisp, carrying a faint scent of rain that had passed hours earlier. In a dimly lit corner of a chic downtown restaurant, Alexander Carter, the CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech empire,
but from the hum of quiet conversations
his tailored suit was
and the sound
impeccable,
of life
his
happening.
watch gleaming under the soft chandelier
Outside,
light.
the snow was falling
Yet
harder,
none of it mattered now.
coating the city
The woman
in
he
soft
had been
white
anticipating
silence.
for weeks, a blind
Inside,
date arranged by mutual
Daniel
friends,
Hayes sat
had
alone at his
canceled at the
usual
last
corner
minute.
table,
A sinking
staring
feeling
through the
settled in
window
his
with a
chest,
blank expression.
heavier than he expected.
His soup sat
He had
untouched,
meticulously
the
planned
steam
every
long
detail.
faded.
The reservation,
He came
the
here
wine,
every morning before
the subtle
work,
ambiance that would
not
make the
because he
night
loved the
unforgettable.
place,
And
but
now
because it
nothing.
helped him remember what peace
Just the
used to
clinking
feel
of
like.
cutlery, murmurs
Before
of other
everything
diners,
changed,
and the quiet
before his
hum of
wife's car
background
never made
music
it
that
past
felt
that
almost
intersection 2
cruelly
winters
cheerful.
ago.
He
Since
stared
then,
at the empty chair across from
silence had
him,
been his closest
trying to
companion.
push aside the sudden
It
wave
was
of
supposed to be
loneliness.
just another lonely
It wasn't just
breakfast.
disappointment.
But
It was
then,
an echo
a
of a
small
deeper
voice
emptiness,
broke through the
one he had
background
long
noise of
buried
clinking
beneath
cups
board
and soft
meetings,
music.
investments, and deals.
Daniel looked up,
Despite his
startled.
immense wealth and
A woman
influence,
stood before
moments
him,
like this
clutching
reminded
a
him of
small
the life
boy
he
who
had
couldn't have
forsaken
been
for
more
his
than 3
career.
years old.
Love,
Her eyes
companionship,
were soft yet
genuine
heavy with
human
exhaustion.
connection.
The kind
They had
that told
always felt
stories
just
words
beyond his
couldn't.
reach. He shook
Can
his
I
head,
sit here?
trying to convince
She asked
himself that this
quietly,
was
her
nothing
voice
more than a
trembling
minor
slightly.
inconvenience. Yet
There
his
were other
thoughts
empty
betrayed him.
tables, but this
If
one
you
was
believe in
closest to
kindness,
the window,
second chances,
maybe the
and the
only spot
unexpected
where
beauty of
sunlight
life,
managed to touch.
don't forget to like,
Daniel
comment,
hesitated,
share, and
confused by
subscribe
the sudden
to our
request.
channel. Alexander
before
took
he
a
could
deep
answer,
breath and
the
attempted
little
to
boy
immerse
shivered
himself
and
in the
tucked
menu,
his face into his mother's
scrolling
coat.
through unfamiliar dishes
If you sit,
without truly seeing them.
Daniel finally said,
The weight of solitude
his voice low
pressed
but
down on
gentle.
him more acutely with every
You have
passing
to
minute.
eat too.
Just as he was
If you
considering
believe in
whether to
kindness,
leave and
second
drown the
chances,
evening in
and the
work
power
instead,
of small acts
a gentle
that can
voice
change
cut through his
lives,
reverie.
please like,
"Excuse me,
comment,
is this seat
share,
taken?"
and subscribe.
He looked up to see a
It
woman
helps us
standing
spread
with a
more
hesitant
real,
smile.
heart-touching stories
Her hair
just
was
like
slightly
this one.
tousled, as if she had been
Her
racing
name was
against
Grace
time,
Mitchell.
and her eyes
She
carried a
looked to be
quiet
around
determination.
28,
She
maybe
was holding
younger,
a small
though the
backpack and a
sleepless
few grocery
circles under
bags.
her eyes made her seem
Far
older.
from the glitzy elegance
Her
one would
son,
expect in
Lucas,
such a
clung
restaurant,
to her tightly
but
as she
there was a
slid into the
warmth in
chair
her gaze
opposite
that
Daniel.
immediately drew him in.
She didn't
"No.
order anything at first.
Please sit,"
Only asked
Alexander
for a cup of
responded
warm
almost
water.
automatically.
Daniel
Something
noticed
about
her
her
coat,
presence felt grounding,
beige but
human
worn
in a
thin.
way he hadn't felt
Its
in years.
edges frayed from
She
too
sat
many
down
winters.
carefully, placing her
Lucas's
bags under
blue
the
jacket
table
was zipped
and
to his
offered
chin,
a polite nod.
but his mittens didn't
Alexander
match.
studied her
One
subtly,
gray,
taking
one
in the
brown.
worn sneakers, the casual
It didn't
sweater,
take much to piece
and the
things
tired
together.
lines etched around her eyes.
Grace had been walking for
She
hours
was
that
ordinary
morning.
yet radiant in
She
an
had lost her job
unpolished
2
real
weeks
way
ago.
that
A small
instantly
cleaning
challenged
position at a
everything
local
he thought
motel
he knew
that
about
barely paid
attraction.
enough to keep the lights on.
"My name is Emma,"
Her
she
landlord
said
had given
softly,
her until the end of the
breaking
week
brief
to pay
silence.
rent. But there was no
"Alexander,"
money coming.
he replied,
She
extending
had tried
a hand,
the shelters,
which she shook
all
with a
full.
surprising firmness.
Today,
They
she had
began
come
to
to the
talk,
cafe to warm
initially
Lucas up,
with small
nothing more.
pleasantries, but
The
soon the
waitress had told her she
conversation
couldn't
deepened
stay without
naturally.
ordering, so she'd been
Emma
about to
shared
leave when
snippets
she
of her
noticed
life,
Daniel sitting
a
alone.
single mother,
Something in
juggling
his
2
face,
jobs to provide
quiet,
for her young
kind,
daughter,
maybe broken
constantly
like her,
fighting
gave
exhaustion
her the courage
and
to
societal
ask.
judgment,
Daniel
yet
pushed the plate of
refusing to
croissants
surrender
toward
to
her and
despair.
motioned to the waitress
She
for
spoke
another
with
bowl
a
of soup.
sincerity and vulnerability
"You don't
that pierced
have
through
to,"
Alexander's carefully
Grace
constructed
whispered,
defenses.
embarrassed. But
He in
Daniel
turn
shook
found
his head.
himself opening up about the
"No one
relentless
should be
pressures
hungry,"
of leading
he
a
said
corporation,
simply.
the loneliness
As
that
Lucas
came with
ate,
success,
Daniel found
and the
himself
secret
watching
longing
them,
for something
realizing
meaningful
how
beyond
long
wealth
it had
and
been
power.
since he'd heard a child's
Alexander
laugh up
was
close.
astonished at how easily
Lucas
their dialogue
giggled as
flowed.
crumbs fell onto
He
the
noticed
table,
the subtle
and
gestures
Grace
of resilience
smiled
in her,
faintly, brushing them
the
away.
way she laughed despite
That
exhaustion,
small
the
smile,
fleeting glances
tired,
she cast
grateful,
toward the
and
doorway,
fragile,
perhaps
stirred
worried
something
about
in Daniel's
time or
heart he
waiting
hadn't
task.
felt in years.
Emma's story was heavy
For
with
a
struggle,
fleeting moment,
yet there was
he
a
wasn't the
lightness in
man
her
who had
spirit
lost
that shone
everything.
through.
He was
He
just someone
realized that he
sharing a
had been
meal with
expecting to be
strangers who
impressed
needed
by
warmth
status,
more than he did.
beauty, and elegance.
Grace thanked him
But
again
here he
and
was,
again, her voice
captivated by
cracking
courage,
slightly each time.
kindness, and authenticity.
She said she'd pay him back
As
when
the
she
dinner
could,
progressed,
but Daniel
Alexander
only
observed
nodded.
Emma carefully.
He didn't need
She
repayment.
had ordered a simple meal,
What he wanted,
one that suggested
though he didn't know it yet,
practicality rather than
was
indulgence.
to feel human again.
There were no pretenses,
After they
no
finished,
embellishments,
she tried to stand,
just the bare
ready to
honesty of a
leave.
woman surviving and
But Lucas
striving.
yawned and leaned
And
his
yet,
head
in
against
that
her shoulder.
simplicity, there was an
Daniel
elegance
noticed how
that made her
pale she
presence
looked,
unforgettable.
and before she could take another
Alexander
step,
felt an
he asked
unfamiliar
softly,
stirring within him,
"Do you
a
have
mix of
somewhere to go?"
admiration, compassion,
Her silence was
and a
answer
deep
enough.
desire to protect
She
and
didn't
support.
want pity, but she
Hours
was too
slipped
tired
by
to lie.
unnoticed.
So she told him a
Conversations
little.
became laughter.
Not everything.
Silences became
Just enough
comfortable
for him to
pauses.
understand.
and a connection
Her
formed
husband
that
had
neither
left when
had
Lucas was
anticipated.
1, taking every dollar
Alexander
they had.
realized that the night's
Her parents were
disappointment,
gone.
the canceled
She'd
date,
been working odd
the
jobs
empty
since,
chair,
trying to build
was
a life that
perhaps the
seemed to crumble
universe's
every
subtle
few months.
nudge, guiding him
"I'll
towards
find
something far more
she said
profound
finally,
than a prearranged
forcing
meeting.
a brave smile.
Emma, in turn,
always
sensed
do.
a genuine interest in Alexander
Daniel nodded slowly.
that wasn't about his wealth
He
or
knew
title.
that kind of
It was
determination.
rare, she admitted
The
to herself,
quiet,
to
desperate
encounter
kind that holds a
someone in a
person
position
together
of
when
power
everything else
who could
falls
also be
apart.
unguarded, who
He
could
reached
listen
into
without
his wallet
judgment
and placed
and
a few
engage
bills
without
on the
arrogance.
table.
The night
Not for
began to
pity, but for
dissolve the
peace.
walls they had both carefully
"Please,"
built around their hearts,
he said gently.
replacing them
"Just
with
get a
mutual
proper meal
understanding and
tonight."
empathy.
Grace
Yet the
looked at the
challenges
money,
looming in
her
Emma's
pride
life were
fighting
never far
against
from
her
her
need.
mind. Her daughter
But
needed
when she saw
attention,
Lucas's
her
sleepy
bills were
face,
mounting, and she
she took it
constantly
with
feared that
trembling
any
hands.
reprieve was temporary.
"Thank you."
She felt the pangs
she
of guilt
whispered.
for enjoying this rare
That
evening
night,
of normalcy
Daniel
and
couldn't
connection,
stop thinking about
knowing
them.
that responsibilities
The way
awaited her
Grace
the
had
moment
held
she
her
stepped
son
outside.
close.
Alexander
The way she
noticed
had
her
looked at
subtle
her
unease
food like it
and
was both
admired
a
her even
blessing
more.
and a reminder
Here
of
was
what
a
she
woman
didn't
whose
have.
life was defined by
He
selflessness
told
and
himself
sacrifice,
not to get involved,
and yet she managed
that
to
people
carry
come and
herself
go,
with dignity and
that
hope.
he'd done his part.
As dessert was served,
But
a
something
shared
inside
chocolate
him
cake that
whispered
neither
that
really
maybe
needed,
this wasn't a
but both chose
coincidence.
to savor,
The next
Alexander
morning,
found
he
himself
returned to the
making a
cafe,
decision he hadn't
half
anticipated.
hoping, half fearing
He
she
wanted
might
to be
come
a part
back.
of her world,
And she
not
did.
just as a fleeting
She
companion
looked
for one
cleaner
evening,
today,
but as
her
someone
hair
who could
tied
offer
neatly,
support,
her scarf
stability,
wrapped tight.
and perhaps even
Lucas
love.
ran to the window and
It was
pressed
a
his small
terrifying
palms
thought,
against the glass,
bridging
laughing at the
worlds
snow.
that seemed so impossibly
"You came
distant,
back,"
yet entirely
Daniel said
necessary.
softly.
The evening
Grace
drew to
smiled.
a close, and Alexander
"You
insisted on
left your
walking Emma to
scarf,"
her car.
she lied,
The rain
placing
had
it on the
returned
table.
softly, leaving
Daniel
the streets
realized what
glistening
she'd
with
done,
reflections of the city
giving
lights.
herself a reason to return
Emma looked
without
exhausted
admitting she
but
wanted
grateful,
to.
her shoulders
He
finally
smiled
relaxing
back,
as they reached the
grateful
vehicle.
for the excuse.
Alexander paused,
They
looking
shared
into her
breakfast
eyes with
again,
an intensity
and
that
this time
surprised
she
even
told him
him.
about her dreams.
"Thank you," she said
How she
quietly,
once wanted to study
almost
nursing
as
before
if
life had
afraid
other
to hope.
plans.
"No, thank you,"
Daniel
he
listened
responded,
quietly,
"for reminding
offering
me
small
that life isn't
encouragements
about
between sips
schedules
of
or
coffee.
cancellations.
Over the next
It's
few
about
weeks,
moments like
the cafe
this.
became their
They
unspoken
exchanged
meeting
numbers
place.
with a promise to meet
Grace
again.
found a part-time
Though
job
both
at a
knew
daycare,
that the bond they had
and Daniel,
formed
who worked as an
transcended mere
architect,
plans.
helped her fill out
Something
forms for
profound
government
had shifted,
assistance.
an
Lucas
invisible
started
thread
calling
weaving
him
their
Mr.
lives
Dan
together
slowly.
in ways neither
What
could have
began as
predicted.
kindness turned into something
Over the
deeper.
following weeks, Alexander
Not love
found
at
himself
first sight,
rearranging his
but
life,
love built from
not
trust,
his business,
from
but his
shared
heart.
silence.
He
from
checked
the
in on
comfort of
Emma
knowing someone
regularly,
cared.
not as a
One snowy
CEO
morning,
checking on a business
Daniel found
associate,
Grace sitting alone
but as
by
a
the
man
window,
genuinely
tears
invested
in
in
her eyes.
someone else's well-being.
The daycare had closed
He admired her
unexpectedly,
resilience,
and she didn't
her
know how she would
unwavering
pay
love for
rent
her
again.
daughter, and the quiet
Lucas was with
courage
a
she
neighbor,
displayed every
unaware
single
that
day.
their home might disappear
Emma,
soon.
in turn, began
Daniel
to trust
sat down
someone in
beside
ways
her,
she hadn't
watching
dared
her
in
try
years,
to hold it together.
allowing herself
"You
moments of
helped me enough,"
vulnerability and even
she
hope.
said through tears.
It was a slow,
"You don't have to
tender
fix my life.
transformation,
I'm
like
not
the
trying
first
to
rays
fix
of
it,"
dawn breaking
Daniel
through a long,
replied
dark
quietly.
night.
"I just don't
Neither
want you to
rushed the
fight alone."
process, for they understood
He offered
that
her
the
something
most
she didn't
precious
expect.
relationships were forged in
A temporary
patience,
job as his housekeeper.
understanding, and
His
unwavering
home had
support.
been empty for too long.
They laughed
and he
over
needed
shared
help
meals,
maintaining it.
celebrated small victories,
Grace hesitated,
and
but
offered
eventually
comfort
agreed.
during inevitable setbacks.
What neither of them
In
realized
each
was
other,
that this
they
arrangement would
discovered an
change
unexpected
everything.
sanctuary, a
Working
place
in
where
Daniel's
ambitions,
house,
fears, and
Grace brought
dreams
life
could
back into the
coexist
rooms that had been
harmoniously.
silent for years.
One evening, Alexander
She cooked
found
simple
himself
meals,
reflecting on that initial
kept things
canceled
organized,
date,
and sometimes
realizing how
sang
perfect
softly
that
while
twist
Lucas
of fate
played.
had been.
Daniel,
What
who
could
had shut
have been a
himself
night
off
marked
since
by
losing his wife,
disappointment had instead
found
become
warmth
the beginning of a
returning.
life-changing connection.
Not the kind that erased
He thought
pain,
about how many people fear
but the
vulnerability,
kind that made it
fear the
bearable.
unknown, and yet
One
when they
evening,
embrace
while
it,
she washed
life
dishes
has a
and
way
Lucas
of
built
rewarding
towers
them
with
beyond
blocks,
measure.
Daniel
Emma's
stood by the
courage to
doorway,
approach a stranger in
watching
a
them.
restaurant, her
The
willingness
golden
to
light
share
of the
her
lamp
story
softened
had changed
everything.
not only her own life,
The sound
but
of
his as
laughter,
well.
the smell
Time
of
passed
bread,
and their bond grew
the
stronger,
heartbeat of a home
rooted not in
rediscovered.
superficial attraction or
Grace,
societal
he
expectations,
said finally,
but
his
in
voice
genuine
trembling.
respect, empathy,
"You and
and
Lucas,
understanding.
you've
Alexander
brought
began to
something back I thought
redefine his as measures of success, realizing that the heart's fulfillment often outweighed financial gain or public acclaim.
Tears filled her
Emma,
eyes
too,
before
found strength in the
words did.
support and love
For the
that
first
Alexander
time in
offered.
years,
No longer
Daniel
feeling that
reached
her
out,
dreams were secondary to
not
survival.
out of charity,
Together,
but
they
out of
discovered
hope.
that love could heal old
From that
wounds,
day,
bridge
their
social
lives
divides,
intertwined in
and
ways
restore
neither
faith in
had
the
planned.
unexpected kindness of life.
Grace found strength
As
in
the story of
stability Daniel
Alexander and
offered.
Emma's first evening
Daniel
together
found
reached the
healing
hearts
in
of
the
those who
warmth
knew it,
Grace carried.
it became a quiet
story
testament
wasn't
to
a
the
fairy
beauty of
tale.
second chances.
It was two
Life often
broken
presents
lives mending
obstacles
side
and
by side.
disappointments,
Slowly,
yet sometimes the very
gently.
moments that seem like failures or
Months
misfortunes
passed,
are
and
gateways
winter
to
melted
profound
into spring.
transformation.
On
A
a bright
canceled date,
morning,
A
Grace
chance
sat
encounter,
once again
and a
across from
willingness
Daniel
to
in the
embrace
same cafe
vulnerability
where it had
led
all
to a
begun.
connection that neither could have
Lucas
scripted.
sat between them,
Near
munching
the
on a
end of every
croissant.
journey, Alexander
Grace
and Emma
smiled as she
reminded
looked out the
themselves,
window,
and those
her
around
reflection
them,
overlapping
that
with
kindness,
his.
courage,
"Can
and
I
openness
sit here?"
were forces
she
more
whispered
powerful
playfully.
than any obstacle.
Daniel
And while the
chuckled
city
softly.
hummed with indifference in one
"Only
quiet
if
restaurant
you eat
corner,
too,"
a
he
single
said,
mother and a
just like that
CEO
first
discovered
morning.
that love
They
often
both
arrives in the
laughed,
most
a sound
unexpected
full of
forms,
gratitude,
reshaping
memory,
lives
and
and hearts
quiet
forever.
joy. What began as a simple act of kindness had turned into a second chance at life. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more stories of kindness, hope, and unexpected love to life. Before you go, tell us in the comments, would you have done what Daniel did? Helped a stranger in need? Or maybe, has someone ever shown you kindness when you least expected it? Because sometimes, one small, "Can I sit here?" can change everything.